if you're getting $1 million out of this deal, go get that bag, girl. What up, Fightful fam? Shaquille Majuri here with your Fightful Fix August 13th, 2020 edition. We're going to take a look at the signing of Paige VanZant to Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship, plus do a little preview about what's at stake in the main event of UFC 252 when Stipe Miocic and Daniel Cormier meet for the third time. Now, before we get started, if you could please hit subscribe, please tap that notification bell, and leave us a like. That would go so far to helping the channel grow. We really appreciate it. Okay, so first off, Paige VanZant signs with BKFC of all promotions. She parted ways from the UFC following her last loss, and many believe she was going to go to Bellator to join her husband, Austin Vanderford. Instead, what we saw was PVZ sign a 4-fight deal with BKFC, which according to President David Feldman is worth more than $1 million, including incentives. Now, I've heard a lot of chatter online that this is the wrong move for Paige VanZant, that she's going to get hurt, that it's going to get ugly. I disagree with those sentiments. You know, BKFC knows what they have in PVZ, and that is a hot commodity that transcends MMA. You see her on TMZ, you see her on all sorts of websites outside of the MMA bubble. And if they're truly paying more than $1 million for her services, they're going to make sure to build her, and Feldman already acknowledged that. He said that the UFC did not give PVZ the most difficult matchups, but definitely not the matchups best suited for her skill set. BKFC has signed a bunch of women, and they plan on giving PVZ the sort of matchups that will benefit her striking style. Now, whether or not that's really the right move for PVZ, not really for me to say, but if you're getting $1 million out of this deal, go get that bag, girl. And now, let's take a look at UFC 252, headlined by the trilogy fight, the rubber match between Stipe Miocic and Daniel Cormier. Now, this is, I think, one of the most underrated rivalries in MMA history. You know, you see a lot of buzz about Daniel Cormier and Jon Jones, and while especially the most recent fight was competitive up until the knockout, Jon Jones has decisively been the better fighter in that rivalry. It's got a lot of smack talk, it's got a lot of heat, it's got a lot of animosity in it, but the Stipe Miocic DC trilogy has been so damn competitive, and what it really means is the battle for who is the greatest heavyweight in UFC history and possibly MMA. Who is going to win that fight? I got no idea, dude. And if you look at the UFC 252 predictions video that I did with Tito Ortiz, Gilbert Burns, Jack Hermanson, Beneil Dariush, Angela Hill, and a whole bunch of other fighters, no one really seems to be sure. We had fighters very firmly in the DC camp. We had fighters very firmly in the Miocic camp. We had guys who were unsure, and we even had people who started the interview leaning one way and talked themselves out in favor of the other. What I will say is both guys actually have something to prove here beyond the fact that it's 1-1. For Stipe Miocic, Daniel Cormier has won more total rounds across the two fights. Plus, there is the sentiment that DC entered the third, fourth rounds with a false sense of confidence, refusing to listen to his corner and engage in grappling, which led to his demise. What that means for Stipe Miocic is he still has a chance to go out there and really kill any noise suggesting that DC had a poor game plan and Stipe Miocic is truly the lesser fighter. Meanwhile, Daniel Cormier, he also has to prove that that last fight was a fluke, that he truly did make a mistake that was on him, and he can go out there and make amends for that. Also, man, DC has been flirting with retirement for several fights now, and there's a good chance that this will be his last fight, particularly if he goes out on a win, but who really knows? Which leads to my next point. What does a win or a loss do for Daniel Cormier's legacy? For me personally, I think it's kind of a moot conversation at this point. DC will without a doubt go down as not just one of the greatest heavyweights or light heavyweights of all time, but one of the pound for pound greatest of all time. What he has managed to accomplish across two weight divisions is astounding. And if you look at the list of people that he's beaten in his pro MMA career, it's ridiculous. Add that to his impressive Olympic wrestling pedigree, man, he is without a doubt one of the greatest. Now, I think if he goes out here and loses, it's disappointing because it means he will have come short in two series of fights against his two greatest rivals, Jon Jones and Stipe Miocic. Nevertheless, I don't think that does a whole lot to deter people from praising and elevating Daniel Cormier to that legendary status. Should he win this fight? Well, I think it only adds to the legend. I don't think a loss really takes away from his stature, but a win would certainly give him one more thing to rest his hat on. What I don't want to see, what I truly don't want to see, is DC fish for another Jon Jones fight. I get why you might do it. Daniel Cormier is older now, sure, but the rest of the light heavyweight division has really caught up to Jon Jones in recent years, and it may suggest to DC and his camp that he could fight Jones and win. However, I think the retribution in a Jones win would be an incredible cap off to his career. It would truly make for, I think, the greatest story in MMA history, but I don't think it proves a whole lot for DC. We already hold him in such high regard, and I don't think he needs to go out there and risk the damage just for another bonus on his already stellar career. That being said, hey, if the payday is right, who am I to stop a man from feeding his family? So who do I think will win? Let me say, I've been a Stipe Miocic diehard since about 2013. There was something about his fighting style, his lean speed in a division, especially back then, that was dominated by big, bruising, bulky heavyweights that immediately caught my attention. I was thrilled to see the way he was able to bounce back from the early rounds of Miocic DC2 and win the fight. That being said, man, these guys are so neck and neck, it's a toss-up. I wouldn't put any money down on it. I think it's a pick'em. And that is all for today's Fightful Fix. Let me know in the comments section, would you like to see DC retire after this fight? Is that contingent on a win or loss? And do you think that BKFC is the right home for Paige VanZant? If you like the video, the best way you can help our channel grow is by hitting subscribe and tapping the notification bell. Leave a like while you're at it. Can't do no harm. For Fightful MMA, I'm Shaquille Majuri, and we'll catch you next time.